Hello and welcome to News9. I'm Shweta Kothari and you're watching In Your Interest. Weddings, funerals, job interviews, medical emergencies. The IndiGo meltdown has not just disrupted flights, it has torn through people's lives and exposed how fragile and monopolistic Indian aviation has become. Tonight, we start with the story of a wedding reception that happened without the bride and groom, because both were stuck in Bhubaneswar while the reception was scheduled in Hubballi. The reception went ahead on a video call while the parents of the bride and the groom sat in their chair. This is also the story of a country where a single airline can cancel more than 8,000 flights in just a day, push ticket prices to 1.5 lakh rupees for 1 hour journey, and then get the government to quietly suspend safety rules that were brought in to stop tired pilots from flying. All this in the middle of the wedding and travel season, the peak season for aviation sector. Today, all 335 IndiGo departures from Delhi were cancelled. Mumbai lost 104 flights, Bengaluru 102, Hyderabad 92, Ahmedabad 86. Thousands of passengers, including patients who had surgeries today and students who had exams, were left stranded at various airports. Many spent the night on airport floors.
हमारे साथ में यामिनी सिंह हैं, भोजपुरी एक्टर हैं। इन्हें मुंबई से लखनऊ जाना है, इंडिगो फ्लाइट कैंसिल हुई है और अभी अभी ये रिजर्वेशन काउंटर से जाकर आई हैं। यामिनी, क्या कहेंगी आप?
सर, मैं इस चीज़ के लिए आई डोंट नो हुज फॉल्ट इट इज़, और मुझे इतना पता है कि मैं इस चीज़ की वजह से हमारा काम हैम्पर हो रहा है। हम गए, मेरा शो था कल का 4th का भुवनेश्वर में। एक कमिटमेंट चीज़ होती है, ठीक है, पैसों का लॉस अलग चीज़ होती है, बट हम आर्टिस्ट पे होता है कि भाई हमारा एक कमिटमेंट होता है, हमने बोला है, हमें जाना होता है, हमें प्रेजेंट होना होता है, सामने वाले का काम है। अब हम नहीं गए तो कौन होगा वहाँ पर? तो मेरी फ्लाइट कैंसिल हुई, उसका रिफंड का कुछ नहीं अभी तक, मतलब कोई फ़ोन उठाने वाला नहीं, कुछ नहीं। उसके बाद सेकंड फ्लाइट मैंने आज 10:35 की कराई, क्योंकि अब भुवनेश्वर का तो मेरा कैंसिल हो ही गया और मेरा 8 को रांची में शो है, उसके लिए मैं आज फ्लाइट मैंने रात की बुक कराई इंडिगो सेम, वो भी कैंसिल। अभी तक कोई बात नहीं। मेरा प्लस में सहारा स्टार में रह रही हूँ, तो उसका पर डे का 25,000 मेरा पड़ रहा है जो एक्सपेंसेस। तो जस्ट टेल मी कि मेरे ये एक्सपेंसेस जो जा रहे हैं, जो मेरा इतना नुकसान हो रहा है, और मेरा तो क्या सभी लोगों का हो रहा है, और इस चीज का फायदा उठा रहे हैं बाकी सारी एयरलाइंस।
इस वक्त हम दिल्ली एयरपोर्ट पर मौजूद हैं और लगातार इंडिगो की फ्लाइट्स कैंसिल हो रही है और बहुत सारे लोगों को यहाँ पर परेशानी का इस वजह से सामना करना पड़ रहा है। मैम, आपको कहाँ जाना था?
हम लोग दार्जिलिंग ट्रैवल कर रहे थे विद 60 पैसेंजर्स, और ऑल ओवर इंडिया से सब लोग अपना सारा शेड्यूल बना के आए हुए थे, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो उन्होंने विदाउट एनी इंटीमेशन फ्लाइट कैंसिल कर दी लास्ट मोमेंट पे, आफ्टर चेक इन, वेब चेक इन। एंड आज भी कोई भी उनके पास कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है कि कब फ्लाइट ऑपरेट करेगी, क्या है, और कल के लिए भी, नेक्स्ट कुछ डेज के लिए भी उनके पास कोई इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है।
रिफंड का कुछ प्रोसेस?
रिफंड से जाए, दे हैव नॉट अपडेटेड एनीथिंग एज ऑफ नाउ।
आप लोगों को भी जाना?
जिस तरह से उनका बिहेवियर है स्टाफ का, इंडिगो के जो स्टाफ जो है, जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव हैं, उनकी तरफ से भी कोई क्लैरिटी नहीं है। वो उनका बिहेवियर भी बड़ा रूड है और अपने आप को एक तो सॉल्यूशन देने की जगह पे प्रॉब्लम वो है कि बात भी नहीं करना चाह रहे हैं। किसी को पूछना भी चाह रहा है तो वो ठीक से बात भी नहीं कर रहे हैं।
Flights being cancelled is most unfortunate because as far as I understand it, the DGCA had given plenty of warning to the airlines about the new system of rosters, working hours, no repetition of nights, various sort of rules that have come into, which meant that they would have had to hire more pilots. Clearly, one airline has failed to do so in the course of the last couple of years that they had, and now we are inflicting chaos on the travelling public.
मैं बस एक चीज पूछना चाहती हूँ, डीजीसीए के अनुसार ये 2 साल पहले इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होना था क्रू के रेस्टिंग आवर्स का, क्यों 2 साल से टाला जा रहा था इंडिगो की तरफ से? क्यों डीजीसीए उन पे कार्रवाई नहीं कर रही थी? क्यों उनसे इम्प्लीमेंट करने की जोर नहीं डाल रही थी? तो अगर डीजीसीए इतना टूथलेस है कि जनता के जो तकलीफ है उसको दरकिनार कर एयरलाइंस की खातिरदारी में लगा हुआ है, क्योंकि एक डुओपली बन चुकी है पूरे मार्केट में, तो कभी अकाउंटेबिलिटी होगी? आप सिविल एविएशन मिनिस्ट्री बंद कर दीजिए।
कुछ सवाल है। पहला सवाल तो ये है कि डीजीसीए ने अगर एफडीटीएल का ये पूरे नियम लागू करने ही थे तो इस पूरी रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क का पहले ऑडिट करना चाहिए था कि क्या एयरलाइंस के पास इतनी बैंडविड्थ है, इतनी बेंच स्ट्रेंथ है, पायलट रोस्टर इस प्रकार का है कि वो कर पाएंगे। दूसरा, एयरलाइंस को खुद को अपने आप को एक इस तरीके से प्रिपेयर करना चाहिए था कि ये स्थिति ना आए। और अंत में जो पैसेंजर्स जिनकी आज न जाने कितनी इंपॉर्टेंट बिजनेस मीटिंग्स कैंसिल हो गई, जॉब के इंटरव्यू कैंसिल हो गए, शादियां रिसेप्शन कैंसिल हो गए, उन पैसेंजर्स को कैसे कॉम्पनसेट करेगी एयरलाइंस?
I want to share with you that we have experienced severe operational disruptions for the past few days. Since then, the crisis continued to aggravate, with today, December 5th, being the most severely impacted day, with the number of cancellations well over 1,000, or more than half of our number of daily flights. I, on behalf of all of us at IndiGo, would like to extend our sincerest apologies for the major inconvenience this has caused to many of our customers on account of delays or cancellations.
And under intense pressure to restore normalcy, the aviation regulator DGCA has granted IndiGo temporary exemption from the new flight duty time limitation, or the FDTL rules, specifically on night duty and related fatigue protections. These rules are designed to limit the number of night landings and consecutive night duties were tightened after years of global evidence linking fatigue to safety risks. The pilot body, ALPA, has accused the government of putting commercial interests above passenger lives. They said that the DGCA had earlier assured that no airline would get special treatment, and that this U-turn destroys regulatory parity and undermines public trust in safety watchdog. They also warned that any dilution of fatigue rules directly raises the risk of accidents during flight operations, and that DGCA will have to take responsibility if something goes wrong. Facing public anger, the government has ordered a high-level inquiry into IndiGo chaos. The government says that it has put the new fatigue rules in abeyance only to protect passengers, especially senior citizens, students and patients. They claim that normalcy will return in next 3 days and that safety has not been compromised. India's aviation crisis has exposed a dangerous duopoly masquerading as free market. IndiGo commands nearly 60% of the market, with Air India 30%, giving the two airlines nearly total control over fares, capacity and even safety outcomes. That kind of concentration creates pricing power, operational fragility and weak incentives to invest in resilience. So when one stumbles, most of the country's flight collapses with it. Regulatory exemptions and slot concentrations have also entrenched fortress in hubs like Delhi, shutting out real competition. The result is predictable: surge prices after disruption, routine delays and massive daily losses running into hundreds of crores. Indian aviation remains trapped in this structure because the economics are broken and the barriers are immense. The industry has lost over 1 lakh crore since 2010, with fuel alone eating up to 40% of the cost. Fares and the wars around fares destroy margins and leave no money for safety or resilience. Predictable shocks like fog, grounded aircraft, pilot shortage, slot congestion hit harder because the system runs permanently at the edge. Policy uncertainty, shifting duty rules and schemes like Udan have largely helped incumbents, not new entrants. With entry costs above 10,000 crore rupee for any new player, scarce airport slots locked by duopoly and weak monopoly oversight, market forces and market power is gained impossibly, and it's a challenge that cannot be overtaken and cannot be easily undone. The big question that we're asking tonight is, with IndiGo at 60% market share, can regulators realistically penalize it, or are they forced to bend because there is no alternative? By easing pilot fatigue rules to clear backlogs, is the government now trading safety for short-term continuity? And will passengers get real compensation for all the losses and the trauma, or will this be buried as another operational issue? Joining me on the show is Captain Prashant Dhalla, former Flight Operations Inspector. Also with us is Captain Ehsan Khalid. He's also an aviation expert, as well as Group Captain V.N. Jha. He's an aviation expert and former IAF officer. Thank you very much, all of you, for taking time out. I want to begin with you, Group Captain Jha. When you look at what's happening today, by the way of FDTL rules being bended and kept in abeyance for a single player, and the kind of chaos that IndiGo has caused in the aviation sector, what are we to make of it? Is this gross negligence? Is this aviation regulator bending to the will of a single player?
Very good evening, Shweta, and to all your viewers. We feel sad the state of aviation and the commercial flights and the passenger convenience has been thrown to the winds today. FDTL has always been a bone of contention. I had done my specialization in aerospace medicine with the human factor in aviation. That was my specialty. Way back in 1983, and even those days, there were ongoing debates, discussions. What should be the FDTL? What should be the limit? What should be that cutoff age? And we had no clear answer those days. Subsequently, obviously, FAA had made decisions. ICAO had made a decision. Even DGCA here, they have made a decision. But what has hit hard here is possibly the DGCA, which had received this the recent restrictions on the FDTL way back in, I think, January or February, they had received this new restrictions. And then they have given, leverage of time for the airlines to, beef up their staffs and accordingly make the roster and all related things. But possibly they had issued that later, and then they have not checked they have not audited the actions of the airlines, particularly this IndiGo, which has got very high share in the aviation today, 60%, as you mentioned. That should have been done, because now the moment we have put the restriction here on the 1st of December, look, the entire thing has gone hayward. And now, if you have again made a U-turn, then are you suggesting that the FDTL time is arbitrary? That the previous leverage, what was given to them, I think about 10% of the FDTL limits was slightly more other side, including the landings and various other things. If that was giving you the effects, then what was this deadline to create on 1st of December? You should have called the airlines again, because that is the main player right now in India. You should have called them, you should have asked them, you should have questioned them, you have audited them, you could have warned them that this is going to come there on so-and-so date, so that they would have been preparing. Look, the pilots are not available off the counter that you will go to the shop and buy it. There could be pilot available who is trained onto the other fleet. This is Airbus here mostly in the case. There could be pilot of the other fleet. Okay. They will need time to change. They will have to be trained to the new fleet of the aircraft that they have to do. So it is not off the counter that you can hire the pilot. So this all should have been done by the DGCA. I think DGCA is also equally to be blamed for the chaos that it is there. Okay. Of course, I can't take anything out of the blameworthiness of the operator of the IndiGo. They should have taken care of it. But being a doctor, being a human factor specialist, I can tell you that it is not sacrosanct that, okay, this is the 8 hours. Of course, the same guideline has given them the leverage of 1 hour, but if it could be slightly more, giving that liberty to the pilot to evaluate themselves, that yes, if I'm not feeling well, if I'm not feeling absolutely energetic, I will call it a day. I will not fly further. But if there is another one, who the youngsters, younger lot, who can say that yes, I can go for another 1 hour or 2 hour, 3 hour, if they feel, I'm not suggesting that they should leave it arbitrarily. There could have been a meeting with the DGCA, okay, with a human factor specialist, with a company coming up there and made some sort of flexibility. This is a flexibility what demanded here on part of every agency. If that had been the case, then we should not have been in this situation right now there. But then making a U-turn right now for maybe 7 days or maybe 3 days. Now IndiGo is claiming that within 3 days they will get over it. So let us see how
Yeah,
it
but
goes.
then what was the
But
plan?
then it has been.
How would they get over it? You know, a fair question, Captain Prashant Dhalla. IndiGo says that they would get over it, but how would they get over it? It does look like right now that DGCA seem to have compromised passenger safety, bended the rules for a single player because the player simply refused to follow rules.
Shweta, let me just answer this particular aspect of having the involvement of the subject matter experts and the airlines while this particular rule or the regulation is being drafted. You know, the process of formulating a particular requirement or rule does involve a lot of deliberations. There were a series of meetings with the highest of authorities of be it IndiGo, Air India, and other stakeholders. While this particular requirement was formulated, this is dated back 2 years. It is the same airline which approached the Honorable Court, and it is the directive and the outcome of an order in which the particular requirement of Section 7 is being phased into two particular aspects, one effective July and the other effective November. Having said that, this particular misjudgment and the gaps in the roster planning department of airline has had a cascading effect. Like your report clearly spells out that 60% of the country's aviation traffic is being governed by a particular airline. Thus, the domino effect and the cascading effect will be seen at the various airports in India. Now, coming to the regulators' point of view, and it has been very commonly used, the uturn terminology. Please understand that any requirement and regulation is based on a public trust doctrine. If it is affecting a particular section of the public, the government is bound, it is liable to make certain amendments and changes so that that particular rule is not hampered. And to say that IndiGo is being benefited by this, it is primarily wrong. It will have an impact on Air India. It will have an equal impact on Akasa as well. Having said that, please understand, me being a pilot who's had an experience of about 20 years, it is very important to understand the fatigue topic. The primary crux of formulating this particular car was to match it with the global standard, wherein the fatigue element of a pilot is not hampered with. It is very important to understand that as a pilot, you're supposed to be given that amount of rest. And to say that it is unsafe now at the regulators' U-turn, it is totally wrong. You cannot say that an airline who's done a misjudgment in their roster system, because it's at the end of the day it's a software. You cannot manage 5,000 pilots with a human. You don't have those days when Air India, you used to make roster pencil.
Agreed, 100%. But I do have 3 follow-up questions. When you say that all airlines are likely to benefit, would it be fair to say that IndiGo, being the largest carrier by size, is going to benefit more? Because we haven't seen similar cancellations with other airlines. If yes, not the same number of cancellations at least as we have with IndiGo. Second, to say that DGCA did so because there was a need and there was a pilot shortage, does it not compromise on people's safety? And I agree with you that while it's not going to do away with rest period, it considerably decreases rest period, which many pilots would turn around and say, we are fatigued, we did not get enough rest, thereby compromising passenger safety. So if the rules were made to be in tandem with rules outside of this country, with European standards, that was for the benefit of passengers. Captain Dhalla?
So it's a perfect point which you have raised. Let us understand that the idea of this particular government, and especially with the Honorable Union Civil Aviation Minister giving a statement that it is the primary duty of this particular government to normalize the situations. We cannot run away with that fact. So taking a leverage of next 48 to 72 hours to normalize the situation so that the stranded passengers can reach the destination safely is the primary duty. For that, there has to be a plus and a minus situation at hand. Now, coming to the important point of hiring, the pilots and all that, like Group Captain has just mentioned, it is not an overnight exercise. It will take certain months of training sessions and trying to hire the best in the industry. the government is not involved in this particular exercise. It's the domain of an public listed airline such as IndiGo. It is their domain to do the hiring process. It is their domain to have the extra set of pilots. The government will never intervene in such exercise. Having said that,
Right.
There is a regulatory audit exercise which is part of an annual safety plan. I have done numerous audits of IndiGo in the past also, wherein there is one item which talks about the hiring process. Based on the number of aircrafts which are available in an airline's fleet, IndiGo is having more than 5,000 pilots. So the ratio says that there are approximately 15 pilots vis-a-vis to one single aircraft. So that number is sufficient. However, with the changes, with the mismanagement of the roster planning system, there can be an issue like this. It was imminent.
It was imminent, and it could have been better planned, and I think that's where anger is quite palpable out there on streets. It's in the airports. People are fighting for what they rightfully deserve, which is essentially, having paid for a service and getting that service. Let me also get in Captain Ehsan Khalid, who's also with us on the show. Captain Khalid, people are genuinely angry at IndiGo. It's the largest aviation player by market size in the country. It did not prepare on time, and with the time frame it had of almost 2 years to better prepare for any a last minute emergency, knowing that fog continues to be an issue every winter. So there was absolutely no contingency plan here.
Okay, just to let your viewers know, the cancellations or the mass cancellations by IndiGo has very little to do with the FDTL changes. Okay, because the FDTL changes require them to hire maybe 10% more manpower. Right? The same FDTL changes, SpiceJet, Air India, and other airlines are also facing the same fog condition and congestion they are also doing. SpiceJet is mounting 100 more flights to cater for the cancellation of IndiGo. So, how come one airline is able to do so much more under the new rules, not under the old rules or anything? So it is much lesser to do with the FDTL. Maybe IndiGo was trying to prove a point that hiring 15% of this is too much on us and you need to roll it back for some time. But the fact remains that we do not know the real reason of cancellation of so many flights from single base Delhi or Mumbai. Almost entire flights have been cancelled. Come on, the new rules does not require the entire fleet pilots to sleep for 48 hours. So, and even the CEO who gave he could have said that we cancel 20% of the flights which are early morning or late night, but the entire day cancellation has been totally out of this FDTL norm. This is one. Second, government had to solve it, DGCA had to solve it, and they gave some relaxation to to IndiGo and vis-a-vis all other airlines, and the old FDTL rules have now come again in practice. The question here that you need to ask the DGCA and everyone else, while giving this relaxation, what is the commitment that IndiGo has made? Has IndiGo said that henceforth we are going to hire, let's say 100 pilots within 100 days or something? We have, I don't know what commitment has IndiGo made. Has IndiGo made any commitment whatsoever that their pilots who are on LOI will be taken on duty and thereafter the training will take on in a particular manner? I do not know so. Okay, so the things that government could do very easily and did not do, okay, is capping off the tickets. It is a national disaster. The number of flights that have got cancelled could have only got cancelled even if we are talking about an earthquake in a particular place, then also you won't have had so many cancellations.
Absolutely. And the fares are exorbitant.
And in this national disaster, there are airlines that are hiking up the price. and making it 1,50,000. This is what government could have capped it.
Right.
Which hasn't been done.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Group Captain, let's talk about passenger rights for a minute. I think it's extremely important. Many passengers are extremely angry. They're distressed. There are patients. There are, school kids, college kids, people who had to attend marriage functions, who couldn't attend their own wedding reception. There are thousands and thousands of such people today who are extremely angry by the mishandling of situation. What about passenger rights? Do you think we should now have compensation which are like EU styled, for that matter, where airline not only pays for a new ticket but also compensates for all the inconvenience that passengers were caused?
Well, this is more to do with the legal system than anything else. Compensating for delayed flight, compensating for the missed flight, cancelled flight. I don't know whether the airlines can cope up with their financial system. As such, there is a very competitive price here in India right now. So that, of course, someone else will have to ask. But then, just now Mr. Khalid was mentioning, absolutely I agree with him that there should have been a cap onto the maximum price that some other airlines were trying to accommodate. They should have done it. I believe there was, some flight was 1,20,000 rupees, which otherwise was costing about 7,000 rupees earlier. So these things, Civil Aviation Ministry should have issued a caution to all airlines not to squeeze the passengers, not to penalize the passengers like this. There should have been a capping. But then what happens? Look, there is a terms and conditions in every flight that we book, that it is likely to have effects which is beyond its control. Now we can debate whether it is beyond airlines control, what all is happening here in this. But then primarily again I come back to the same point. When DGCA had put that axe on 30th November, did it say 7 days before or 15 days before, did it call the airlines, are you ready for this or not? I'm going to pull the axe there.
Okay.
And
let's quickly get a reaction. Yes, please. Go ahead,
just
sir.
Give me 30 more seconds. That was one issue. Second thing was that you mentioned that now the DGCA is making everyone vulnerable to the fatigued pilots. Were the pilots fatigued before 30th November, that the old rules they were following? No, it was not that case. It is only that internationally reconciled timing of the FDTL, whether it is flight time or whether it is the complete duty time from the desk to desk. Was that compromising the safety? No, it was not compromising the safety. One thing the airlines should have done, or DGCA could have done, is screen out or leave those pilots out who express that they are fatigued, they are tired, they are feeling tired. They should not have made to fly mandatorily, and no administrative action should have been taken against any pilot who had said that I am fatigued, I am feeling fatigued, I can't go for anything.
I'm not sure, Group Captain Jai, if one were to ask a pilot or an employee if they're fatigued and would like to rest it out, I don't think one person would say they don't want to rest it out. But I'm going to give quick 30 seconds to Captain Dalla. I need to close the show. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Adding to what Group Captain has just said, fatigue is a very important and a critical part of it. Every pilot has a basic understanding about fatigue, and we must understand that prior to this car, or these particular changes, the pilots were reporting fatigue, and the airline was acknowledging that.
Right.
Proper reports were being forwarded to the regulator, and there's a record database which is available as part of an RTI document also. So it is not just that you can say that effective of this particular car you'll have more of fatigue reports, or that is hampering safety. This particular civil aviation requirement is primarily made to keep the pilot interests high.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I think we'll have to leave it at that. It's a story that is fast developing, with the IndiGo now coming out officially informing all of its passengers throughout the country that they are hoping flights will resume within the next couple of hours. It's been chaos at airports for many, many days now, with thousands of flights cancelled, people left stranded, more questions piling up than what the Civil Aviation Ministry or DGCA has answered. But the crux of the problem and the core of the problem still remains unaddressed as of today, and that is pilot fatigue. Should fatigued pilot be allowed to take to skies, and should FDTL rules have been bended for a single airline which was unable to cope up, resulting in massive queues as far as IndiGo is concerned. But that's all the time we have in your interest. Thank you very much for watching.
यार सोच रहा हूँ पॉलिसी बाजार से टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस ले लेता हूँ ताकि मेरे बाद फैमिली को पैसों की कमी ना। तू भी ले ले
यार, अभी तो यंग है यार, बाद में देखते हैं। आजा।
पॉलिसी बाजार पर 0 GST के साथ अब 1 करोड़ का टर्म लाइफ इंश्योरेंस सिर्फ 400 रुपए महीने से शुरू।
हर स्वाद में बसा, हर दाद में बसा, ये मेरा चीज है।
50 सालों से जो बना इस देश की शान, वो है अमूल चीज।
आराम से हाँ। सामान देना भैया।
अब आगे क्या करना है? वो बिट्टू की पर्ची में देखो ना, कहाँ गई पर्ची? नमस्ते
जी।
हाँ? मुझे पता है वो पर्ची में क्या लिखा होता है। आप चलिए मेरे साथ। व्हील चेयर, ये आपका और ये आपका। पर्ची में शॉपिंग की बात तो जरूर लिखी होती है। थोड़ी पेट पूजा की बात कोई पर्ची में ना लिखे, ऐसा हो सकता है? टिफिन थैंक यू। अरे पर्ची मिल गई।
पर्ची में तो ये सब लिखा ही नहीं था।
हम है ना आपकी पर्ची।
सिर्फ वर्ल्ड क्लास एयरपोर्ट्स नहीं चलाते हैं, आपके सफर में हम सफर बन जाते हैं। अदानी हम करके दिखाते हैं।
लास्ट टाइम कश्मीर गई थी ना, वहाँ खाया शहद, पर उसके लिए कश्मीर जाना पड़ेगा। अरे कश्मीर क्यों जाना, कश्मीर ही यहाँ आ गया।
सुंदर वादियों में महकती खुशबू और रंग बिरंगे फूल, इनमें से शहद निकाल कर जमा किया जाता है।